Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Travel. I'm really excited today because I've got a guest, brother Omar, who is from the USA. It should be a really interesting show, and it's a bit different to some of the previous shows that we've had. So yeah, brother Omar, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Omar Sherrer. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the USA. I've been traveling around the world since 2002. I settled in Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt, for over 15 years, going back and forth and around with my family. And currently, I help run a website and a YouTube channel called Make Hijrah.
Great. So we'll get to the Make Hijrah thing a bit later in the interview, in the show, because it's quite interesting of some of the things that you've actually set up, because one of your plans is obviously making it easy for other people to kind of emigrate to different lands and different countries.
Mhm.
So your first ever travel outside the USA, so was that to Egypt?
Yeah, that was to Egypt. And shortly thereafter, maybe about 2 months after that, I took a trip to Jordan.
Okay.
And from Jordan, it was kind of like a road trip because everything is like near each other. Once you get on that side of the world, you can go
Yeah.
pretty much anywhere in a few hours. So went to Amman, Jordan, and
Yeah.
then after that to Damascus,
Oh,
Syria,
amazing.
and then back to Egypt.
So was that all pre-planned, or was you just like you got to Egypt and then you wanted to just check out somewhere else, or was it all pre-planned before you left?
No, it's kind of sporadic, man,
Okay.
because everything's there. The states is pretty big,
Yeah.
so if you come from that mentality to go from one state to another, it's pretty easy. But
Yeah.
you have a lot of choices, and you have a long distance as well. So we have that mentality. So since we're
Yeah.
here, why don't we just go over here and over here and over here? Because it's right there. It's right.
Yeah.
Everything's next to each other.
So first you went to Egypt. What was the reason for that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. Well, when you okay, I became Muslim
Okay.
in 1994,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if your audience is aware, but the Quran, what the Muslims the book from God called the Quran is in Arabic language,
Yeah.
and it's recited every day, and it's also recited especially in Ramadan every day for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And what happens is that if you're not familiar with the language, it becomes difficult. Just to be honest, it's difficult to stand, difficult
To
I mean, I
connect.
wouldn't say,
Yeah.
yeah, let's say difficult to connect, and let's take off the word difficult and let's just say you become curious or more curious as to what's being said.
Yeah.
So because of that, after about 6 years of that, I decided that, well, actually before that, I made a decision to try to get overseas or go to an Arab country
Yeah.
uh, as soon as I could. And I ended up being able to do that after about 6 years.
Okay.
So that was the reason for going to Egypt, because they had different Arabic centers.
Yeah.
They were pretty much known, and I had friends that had come back and forth from there studying Arabic. So that was the reason for my trip to Egypt.
So the initial trip, how long was you supposed to go for?
Well, the Arabic program was a year and a half.
Okay.
And so initially my intention was just to stay until we finished the program, because I came there with a small family,
Yeah.
my wife and two children. So we said, okay, we're gonna stay. Well, I said, because my wife had her own plan, but I said I would stay until we finish the program and then we'll leave.
Yeah.
So about a year and a half.
And your wife, did she want to stay longer, or?
Well, she just really didn't really want to leave at all.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So that's when I realized. I mean, it's a deeper issue as we go along.
Yeah.
Maybe we can touch on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my wife didn't really want to leave at all.
Okay.
But yeah.
So when you got to Egypt, was it a bit of a culture shock? Because before then you said you hadn't left the USA.
Yeah, it was a culture shock, especially because I'm from a it's the biggest city. It's the biggest city in our state, but everything is spread out. So we live in houses, or maybe we call them duplexes, or it's very few tall buildings like that. You know,
Yeah,
you have like 20 floors and stuff like that, and everybody living together like this. It's not that many in my city.
yeah,
So one of the things that was kind of a culture shock to us was the way people are all densely populated together.
yeah,
So, and when you go to certain areas, it's not strange to find maybe on a block area. I don't know what you guys use, a kilometer or something like that, or a mile area.
Miles.
You
Yeah,
might find a couple thousand people in just that small area.
yeah,
And if you go into shopping or something like this, especially in downtown Cairo, it's like everybody's together, like Hajj or something like that. And so that was really a culture shock.
yeah,
Having so many people close to you and so many people, everybody fighting to get to where they're going. So that was a big culture shock to me.
yeah,
And then another thing about Egypt is that if you look outside, I mean, in the older areas, it's dusty, a little dusty,
yeah,
dirty, garbage. But then when you go in someone's house, it's totally different.
yeah,
It's like a lot of homes are spotless, very well kept.
yeah,
And then you wonder to yourself, like, okay, well, why don't they translate that outside
yeah,
the homes? So that was a culture shock as well. Because usually people keep in the States, you keep your inside. As a matter of fact, your outside might look good and the inside looks bad. The opposite. Yeah, man.
yeah. So when you got there, did you have your accommodation pre-planned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had somebody take us around. We had
Okay.
somebody to pick us up and take us around to look at places. And I guess that's another thing. Like, people's standards are different.
Yeah.
So something that may be excellent to someone else, to you it may not be.
Yeah.
It may be unlivable. So we had to deal with that type of situation and go and find places suitable for what we wanted, or where we wanted to live.
Yeah. And was it difficult to kind of find that?
I think see, it's hard to answer that in a straight way, right? Because uh, if they have an assumption that, okay, they're coming from the U.S., maybe they're on a strict budget, so I'm going to show them something that I think is suitable for them.
Yeah.
So it becomes difficult at that point, because you first have to work out what your standards are.
Yeah.
So you're going around to these different places, and you say, okay, this looks more like what we can handle, and then this looks like this. So I would say, yeah, that part is difficult. But once you get over that part, once they kind of understand what you're looking for, then it becomes easy, because they'll just show you the things that they think that'll be acceptable for you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
did it take you a long time to find a place?
No, we found a place the same day, but we had to go to
Yeah.
different places. And then the place that we took, we weren't happy with it, but it was the best out of what he had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we tried to live there. It was furnished. One thing too, just as advice, if you see one roach, for example, if you see one roach, know that there's more there. Like, don't. So we saw a roach in the kitchen. I think it was dead. We saw it, and I knew to myself. I said, no, it can't just be one.
Yeah.
And then after the days started coming, after days started passing, we saw roaches everywhere. Roaches, you're
Oh,
eating at
wow.
the table, and roach come across the table to the other side, or roach on the wall just waiting to you go over there, and the roach across the carpet. So
Did
yeah,
did that not trigger
yeah,
any thoughts of like, what the hell am I doing here?
it did, because you have some houses that are left empty for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows Egypt knows that there's a lot of dust. If you left your window open, you'll get a dust film on your desk or your tables that's very difficult to wash. So it's kind of like you have to keep everything clean all the time. So
Yeah.
if you can imagine a house that's been sitting for a year and nobody's there, and then you're the first person to come to stay in that place. So, and on top of that, it was furnished. So you had the furniture. Usually, sometimes people put furniture they don't want in those places, beds they don't want. So it was a,
Yeah.
it was a learning experience. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. And then you said after a few months you went to Jordan. How did that
Yeah,
come
after a
about?
few months, uh, well, I always was curious, man, to travel and
Yeah.
um, and see other places. So a friend of mine, a friend that came, actually, our families came together. We decided to leave our families in Egypt and let them stay together, and then we'll go uh, to travel and to look around.
Yeah.
So we went to Jordan.
So why Jordan?
Jordan.
Why?
Well, at the time, we were looking at education,
Okay.
right, or Islamic education. So Jordan at that time had a place called the El Albani Center,
Okay.
right? So we wanted to just go see what was going on there and what kind of programs they had and et cetera. So that was the reason for going to Jordan, just to check out that center.
How long
But
did
we
you?
also went around at the same
Okay.
time. We also looked around and saw what was going on in the country.
So I'm guessing ultimately you decided against staying there.
Well, we didn't really plan to live there.
Okay.
It was more like a visit, just to check it out and see. I guess that if things panned out, maybe we would have relocated. But uh, Jordan was a bit expensive at that time,
Okay.
but the landscape and everything was beautiful. It was a good experience because it kind of like opened kind of opened the possibilities of what's there. Because
Yeah.
if you based everything on that particular experience, let's say Egypt experience,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't want to go anywhere else, and you just you probably just want to go back home. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So doing that early on kind of told me the possibilities of what was out there and the
Yeah.
different cultures and different the way different countries are, the landscapes and everything.
Yeah. And then after that you went on another mission. So after Jordan.
Yeah, right from Jordan, we went to Damascus,
Yeah.
to Syria, and that was a different experience. I mean, that Damascus was very clean. I guess it has to do with uh, the because Egypt is a desert
Yeah.
and people live along the Nile. So that's the greener areas. But basically, it's a desert. If you go any place, everything is desert. But then when you go to Jordan, for example, it's like mountainous.
Yeah.
So you're going up and down mountains, and it's kind of like people live like that. And then when you go to Syria, it's a different environment altogether. So it just gave you an idea, what I mean, of the possibilities out there, or what's out there, and the way people live and the way people interact, they're all different in
Yeah.
different places.
And obviously Syria was like a beautiful place before obviously the wars kind of kicked off there and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah, it was very beautiful. Damascus was very beautiful. It felt really like it had a rich history,
yeah.
and a lot of the old, like when you go to I guess the old places there, the older places, like things that are there are still standing after 1,000 years or what have you, or over 1,000 years. So
Yeah.
you kind of felt that, and then it's kind of, well, I would say it was well maintained at that time. I don't know about of course now what's going on, but at that time things seemed well maintained, and you know it seemed like things were still going, and still moving. You know what I mean? It wasn't like falling apart and nobody fixing things up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you have any
Yeah.
memorable stories from Jordan or Syria?
Do I have any memorable stories?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Mm, That's a good question, man. Um, the sad thing I think about Syria is specific. Like if someone was selling on the street, and usually I don't know how many people we're used from the Western countries. We're used to going into a shop and you have prices there.
Yeah.
Like this costs $10. This costs this, and you just pay it. You don't try to get a discount or try to do anything. It's just that's how much it costs. Pay it.
Yeah, fixed price.
Everything's fixed. There, no. Like you can negotiate anything. I found out that in Egypt, I've actually all over that part of the world, uh, things are negotiable. So the first price they throw out, you automatically drop the price. You
Yeah.
automatically drop it down to where you feel comfortable, and
Yeah.
then you start to haggle back up. But the thing I found in Syria that was, uh, I don't know why it was like that, but anyway, if a person makes an offer on something they have, and you say no, and then you give them like the lowest price you could think of, and he'll say no, but then when you start to walk away, he'll agree.
Yeah.
He won't haggle. He won't go back and forth for anything. He'll just say, okay, I'll take that. And it didn't seem like the people were desperate. It
Yeah.
just seemed I didn't quite understand it. It was just like, okay, I'd rather take that than take nothing. That's kind of how the
Okay.
mentality was there.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, I mean, I can't put that on the whole country,
Yeah.
but
Just based
in
on your
those
experiences.
experiences, yeah, in those particular experiences, that's what I noticed. But then at the same time, it's well known that the Syrians are the merchants of the Arabs.
Yeah.
So when you go to Egypt, when the war happened and they started to come to Egypt, you find that they were the ones that set up the shops and immediately started doing business in the bazaars and everything in a big way. Because prior to that, the Iraqis came
Okay.
because of the Iraq conflict. So they started to come. But when they came, their footprint was much smaller. They had some shops here and there, but it wasn't a big deal. It was like a restaurant over here, maybe a shop over there, and that was it. But when the Syrians came, they took over any open area, any open building. They just took it over, and
Wow.
probably took up almost half of the bazaar where I was living at.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were known as merchants. So it was kind of strange, those
Yeah.
experiences I had in Syria.
But you really felt the presence of these people when they moved to the area. So you
In
could,
Egypt,
yeah, so you could tell that so and so was Syrian or so and so was
yeah.
Iraqi.
But see, the Syrians have a certain type of food. Usually, it's restaurants. They have certain types of what do you call it, goods
Yeah.
that are unique to them. And then when you go in there and you talk to them, you see that they're, the way their accents, the way they look and everything, they're Syrians. But hey,
Yeah, because I guess
yeah,
some people might find it difficult, especially in a place like Egypt where there's a lot of diversity. People look all shades of colors, and
yeah,
you know, anyone could pretty much blend in there.
yeah, that's true. Especially if you know how to deal with the people.
Yeah.
If you don't come in on a high horse, like thinking that you're better than anybody.
Yeah.
The Egyptians are very easy to get along with, man. Very friendly people, and then they take you in and they'll hold your hand. But it doesn't mean that you lose your street smarts,
Yeah.
because you can get taken advantage of. But yeah, but the thing about the Syrian thing is that if you were aware of what was going on in the world, the influx of people, you could see that where that was coming from.
Yeah.
Like if it was just normal, you may not recognize it. You'd have to investigate to kind of see what's going on. But because of what was happening in Syria, you knew there were a lot of refugees and everything coming. So you started to see the change, based on you know
Yeah.
based on your knowledge of what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after Syria, you went back to Egypt.
Went back to Egypt. Yeah. And again, during this whole time, I'm back and forth to the States. I had a business going in the States,
Okay.
so I had to
So,
take care of those things in order to fund my stay in Egypt.
okay.
So
So that must have been expensive, like jumping on planes every so often to go back and forth.
well, I mean, nah, not really. I mean,
No.
because at that time, well, I guess it would be. I guess it would be if you didn't have if you didn't offset it by whatever business you were doing. You know what I
Okay.
mean? If it was
Yeah.
just randomly going, because once you get to the place, then you have to start over again.
Yeah.
Like if you come to Egypt and then go back, then you have to go find a job and blah blah blah.
You start
And
again.
then that takes
Yeah.
time and save up again and then go back and then
Yeah.
spend all the yeah, but it wasn't like that. So
Okay.
it really wasn't that expensive
Yeah.
to do that at that time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just thinking back at the end of your first Arabic course, so it was a year and a half that had
Right.
expired. So leading up to this, had you already decided that you're staying, or was there conversations at the end of it?
Well, I mean, I come from a city in the States that is, well, let's not say the city. The part of the city I come from
Yeah.
is, um, you don't want to, you wouldn't want to raise children there,
Yeah.
you know, because especially if you grew up there and you know how things go, and the fact that the majority of the child's time is spent outside of the home
Yeah.
and away from you. If you put them in school, they'll spend 8 hours in school, and then they'll go with their friends and what have you. And then you'll be lucky if you get an hour of their time in a day.
Yeah. This
You'll be
is
lucky.
true.
Yeah. So that being the case, I knew that I wouldn't be the one, if I stayed there, I wouldn't be the one to raise my children.
Yeah.
The society would raise them. And then, of course, for me personally, it's difficult for me to accept my daughter becoming pregnant out of wedlock, or even my son for that matter. But it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
different with boys because you really wouldn't know. But that type of gang activity and things like this, and I said this before online, that I've had friends that I knew their children growing up, and when they got older, like one of my friends, his both of his sons were in rival gangs. So they're trying to, kill one another
It's really
at
sad
one
that.
point, and they grew up in a Muslim household. So those type of things, and then there's more stories, man. I can go on and on with these type of stories. There's very few people that were able to maintain in that environment
Yeah.
because they really can't control it. But the thing about Egypt is that obviously you can put them in school, but we chose to homeschool. So uh, so the majority of the child's time is spent with their parents. So we know them very well,
Yeah.
and so it's a different type of thing. So considering that and considering the environment, the family type environment, uh, the religious environment, we said it's better to raise our children uh, in Egypt than to
Okay.
take them back. You know, so that was the main reason why we made that decision.
So, following your Arabic course, what did you decide to do next? Because I'm guessing after your studies, you probably got a lot more spare time, or did you continue to study?
Well, after studying Arabic, I had studies on and off, um, but I was interested in figuring out how to stay there.
Yeah.
So I started to look for opportunities, business opportunities, even job opportunities,
Okay.
so that so I didn't have to. Um, I mean, so it can seem more like a living situation than a study situation.
Yeah.
So that's what happened after about a year and a half,
Yeah.
and I would say for the next uh, mm, maybe 10 years.
Oh wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, the next 10 years, it was just on and off, going to the States and back, and just doing different type of, trying out different business ideas and different,
Yeah.
you know, trying to will and deal to live a decent life there.
Yeah. So, did you become accustomed to Egypt by this time?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think a problem we have is that a problem with the foreigners there. Some of us, not everyone, but we. It's not okay. It's not necessarily. It only becomes a problem when you create this bubble that you can't exist outside of.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a problem. But if you're in a bubble, because that's kind of the natural state, if you have friends from your home country, et cetera, and families, et cetera, it's natural for you guys to do things together,
Yeah.
celebrate, eat together, and do different things. But it becomes a problem when you can't function outside of that.
Yeah.
Like when you go down the street, you don't know how to ask a basic question, for
Yeah.
example. That's when it becomes a problem. and you'll find a lot of that. You know, a lot of people can't really communicate that well and
Yeah.
everything, and then it makes the locals feel, like, oh, you're arrogant, or you look down on us, and it's their country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so yeah, so that's the majority of that time afterwards was spending trying to get accustomed to where we are and try to adjust to
To
to,
integrate.
to living there. Yeah, or well, not necessarily integrate,
Okay.
but to function. Well, if you don't mind me asking, what's your background, bro?
Uh,
Where are you?
from north of Pakistan, Kashmir. So
Okay,
yeah.
right. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that there's a big Pakistani community and all over, but in
Yeah.
Birmingham and these places, it's kind
Yeah.
of like you all
You don't feel out of
came to this
place.
place.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't feel out of the place because I guess the mass migrations from like India, Pakistan, and places like that all happened at the same time. So,
Mm,
our grandparents, this third, fourth generation people have been here for like 60 years, 70 years,
mm,
and stuff like
mm.
that. And obviously, they settled here. Probably not the intention to stay here, but then, that one thing leads to another. You end up staying, and then you have children, they have children, and so on and so
Right.
forth.
Right. Yeah. 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 So but the integration thing, I'm sure is there, but you also have people that have tried to hold on to who they are,
Yeah,
you know. And that's how I feel about it too. Like, I don't. It's not that I want to be an Egyptian. Nothing wrong with Egyptians, but
yeah,
it's not that I want to be an Egyptian. I still am who I am.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
to maintain the identity and then walk alongside,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a different way, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. I've never thought of that, but I suppose like when many people, like for example, even my grandparents, they had to hold on to certain values that they
Right,
strongly believed in when they came over
right,
here.
right.
Maybe a bit different to you, but things like halal meat and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because
Mm,
that was not the norm, you know.
right. Mm, yeah.
And then each culture
So
has their own traditions. So maybe the Pakistanis and the Indians have got different cultures,
right.
and they would want to hold on to them.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And we should respect that. If I was to ever travel to Pakistan, I have to respect you. I have to
Mm,
respect the people, and they likewise should respect me, and we can walk alongside each other.
yeah,
It's no problem with that. It wouldn't seem right if I tried to become a Pakistani person, like,
yeah,
because I'm not. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with anyone from Pakistan, but it's just to say, like, to maintain your identity wherever you are, even if your family's there, to
yeah,
have them respect that culture and take what they can good from that culture, and they did, by the way. My
yeah,
children took a lot from the culture, because within that culture is family and respect for family
yeah,
and marriage. Marriage is very important, of course. The Islamic values and everything is there, integrated in the culture. Even if somebody doesn't adhere to everything, they still have a basis there. Like, you can actually go to a person if he's doing something wrong and mention an Islamic value, and they'll submit to that.
yeah,
You know, which is difficult if you don't share those same values with other people. If you go to the West and try to do that, they might you might fight. You know,
yeah,
so those are the type of things that we wanted to take from the culture. We didn't want to become Egyptian. We
yeah.
just wanted to take those good points that they had, from the culture, and implement it in our lives.
Okay, so we're just
Yeah.
gonna delve a bit deeper into some of the Egyptian cultural things. So the food,
Mm.
how did you adapt to that?
For a long time, man, we didn't know what Egyptian food was,
Okay,
because they have Pizza Hut and McDonald's and these things, and we would spend a lot of money
yeah,
on McDonald's and these things. And then slowly but surely, you'll see a guy with chickens, like, rotisserie chickens in the
yeah,
street. So you start to go into the local food, and then you find that the local food is not that bad.
yeah.
So you start to go deeper, and then when you start to meet people, they'll invite you, like they'll
Okay,
invite you to a restaurant, and then you start to see what the real local food is.
Yeah.
And Egypt local food is okay. It's not, you know,
Yeah.
it's not the best, but it's okay. Like
Yeah.
you could deal. Some of the local dishes are um, it's something called tamia, which is falafel. You know, falafel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't know what you call those. The little
Yeah.
fried bean balls. Uh, something. What do you call it? Fool, which
Yeah.
is beans.
Beans
Like
in a sauce and
yeah, and then they have different full dishes like beans and tomato sauce, beans, and okay, a bunch of different types like that.
yeah.
They have something called kushari, which is
Well, yeah, talking about that, the kish,
you know,
yeah. Well, I've been to Egypt
yeah.
myself. I've been to Cairo,
Oh,
and
okay, you know that. Yeah, you
yeah,
know, kushari is it's like just a bunch of different type of noodles,
yeah. Well,
and then
to me,
lentils and
it seems like a mix, a blend of different cultures because you got a bit of Italian in there, a bit of like Asian influence, a bit of Egyptian. But what really struck me about that was it's probably the cheapest meal I've ever bought in the world.
right.
Yeah,
That's another thing. So if you can imagine, let's put it in UK pounds. So let's say you go to McDonald's and you spend 5 UK pounds,
yeah,
and then you go to the local place and you spend 20 pence
yeah,
and for a meal. So that's
yeah,
five UK pounds here, 20 pence here. Bearing in mind that in the States, McDonald's costs nothing. It costs $1, like for a value meal or something like that. So
yeah,
it's a lower level of the food. But when you go to
yeah,
Egypt, it becomes a big thing. Like families go out, and it's like what do you call it? Like going out to a high price restaurant or something like that. It's a big deal if you go to
yeah,
McDonald's or something like that. So we're not thinking locally. We're thinking like we're still in the West,
yeah.
and that was the problem for us and our family. So we spent a lot of money in the beginning.
Oh wow.
Big orders of McDonald's and big Pizza Huts and everything.
Yeah.
When we could have spent a lot of money just eating locally.
Yeah, yeah. So 20 pence a
Yeah,
meal. The kishri actually was about 20 pence from what I
yeah,
remember, and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it does fill you up like for lunch or as a small meal.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, was there any
yeah.
other strange foods you tried? Because I remember I've tried some strange foods when I was in Cairo.
Strange. I would say it was strange at the time,
Yeah,
but now not so strange. Like they have something called musa'a. Musa'a is like eggplants and tomato sauce and
yeah,
sometimes you find potatoes in it. That was something, but that's not really strange. They have something called mulukia, and it's a
yeah.
green dip,
It's like a
and it's
paste.
kind of
Yeah,
slimy. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, there's a lot of things, man. The guys on the street with the I didn't like kibda. You know kibda? That's liver.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They have the liver sandwiches, and I didn't like liver. I didn't like liver.
yeah. And
For
apparently that's like a popular kind of dish there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Kibda is famous, and they got different types from different cities, like
Yeah,
the Alexandrian one, the Cairo one.
yeah.
So yeah,
It is
yeah, yeah,
fascinating, I suppose, as anyone who's a foodie,
yeah,
the variation of foods. But let me
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
what I had, which I found
Mm.
really interesting. So we went to a brother's house, and yeah, he had a spread of all types of food, and all the foods that you've mentioned as well. And
Right.
to the side there was these small little birds. We thought we were baby chickens, and as we
Uh,
start, you already
the
know where
pigeons.
this is going. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I thought this don't taste like chicken.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. The pigeon, if it's cooked right, is good,
Yeah,
but it's not that much meat on it. It's not
no,
that much
no,
meat,
it's small,
and
but
it's stuffed with rice.
yeah, yeah,
With the stuff with rice, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Pigeon, yeah,
I just found
yeah,
it
pigeon.
strange because obviously, in the UK we have many pigeons, and you know,
Yeah,
you
we don't
just
eat
don't
pigeon.
associate with food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't eat pigeons because the pigeons just walk around.
Yeah,
Pigeons, in some places in the states, you'll find they won't run from you. They're not afraid of you.
yeah,
So they'll be on the street and you can walk around them and everything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I never ate pigeon until I came to Egypt.
Yeah, but in Egypt, apparently it's a delicacy, and the different types of pigeons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
so I think the
There's
pigeons are
there there's something else called mashi. I don't know if you had that too. Mashi is like stuffed. Um,
like a
what do you call it?
vegetable.
Yeah, stuffed vegetables like stuffed.
It's like a green kind
I'm
of.
sorry, stuffed peppers,
Yeah, yeah,
stuffed. They call it kusa. I don't know what it's called. It's like a green.
yeah, yeah.
You have the what do you call it? The grape leaves. You have a
The
whole lot of stuff. That's
vine leaves. The vine leaves.
yeah,
Yeah,
vine leaf. Yeah.
yeah,
And the something called meshui. The
yeah.
meshui is like the different meats that you can
Grilled.
get,
Yeah,
grilled meats.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep, that's Egypt.
yeah, man. And then so after 10 years, you decide to leave Egypt.
I started to look outside to see what else is there. Not to mention traveling the inside of Egypt during
Yeah,
that time as well, like different cities inside Egypt. But outside Egypt, I decided to explore further into Africa,
yeah,
to Tanzania. I went to Tanzania to an island called Zanzibar.
yeah. Well, Zanzibar's like a famous kind of tourist hotspot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But Zanzibar has two islands, two main islands, I should say.
Yeah.
One is the one that tourists go to. The other one is called Pemba.
Okay.
And Pemba Island, people go, but it's not. It's nothing like
Yeah,
Zanzibar. In Zanzibar, you go there and you find people. They're just everywhere. And then
yeah,
you find the little what do you call it? Like the resorts.
yeah,
Because since it's an island, they build the resorts on the beaches.
yeah,
So if you go to a resort, you'll find it's like a little Europe, you know,
yeah,
all Europeans. But the people of Zanzibar um, are really beautiful people, and the um, I guess it depends on the person. Like if you're a single guy, you might be able to go there and just you know just get to meet people and go around and see. There's a lot of opportunities there.
yeah,
Um, but if you have a family, it's a bit different, because you have to keep your family engaged and keep them,
yeah,
keep them around activities and things like that. And that was lacking. That was lacking there. Like you're not gonna find your not that we care about McDonald's so much, but because I don't care if it's McDonald's or not. But McDonald's symbolizes that there are different uh, restaurants that you can choose from. And
yeah,
while Zanzibar, the main island, had resorts and different things, Pemba, which is the other island we visited, that had like nothing.
yeah,
There was nothing there. And even the local stuff was like nothing.
yeah,
Everything shut down when the sun, well, after Maghrib, like when the sun went down, Isha time, that's it. It's over.
yeah,
It was just nothing. No light, not that we're into nightlife or anything, but there's nothing there. Like,
yeah. Everyone's just
you get
locked
up.
away in their houses, and
Yeah, once night falls, that's it. And it was interesting. Not to
yeah,
mention, I liked it. I liked it, to be honest.
mm,
I'm not trying to say anything bad, but it's definitely something that you'd have to get accustomed to. You have to get used to it.
yeah,
It's not something you can just jump in.
yeah.
So that was a place I was traveling back and forth there for at least a year.
Oh, so you
You
did
know,
try to make it work?
yeah. I mean, we set up an office there. We tried to bring some economic opportunities to the locals. They had a small downtown area, and we got in one of the buildings and set up everything. But that's another story.
Yeah,
Because that ended up being a disaster. But we set up an office downtown, and then we set up an office in the neighborhood that
yeah.
we all were staying in. And the office downtown, as soon as we left, they stole everything.
Oh
It was
wow.
like they raided everything. So that turned out to be a disaster. But that's something, when it comes to traveling, you have to understand what people, not necessarily the reality, but what people think you are.
Yeah,
In certain places, people, that's the only way that they can earn.
Yeah.
You know, if they see you coming, and if they can figure out a way to get you to spend the money,
Yeah.
that's the only way they can earn. This is how some people think.
Yeah.
One guy told the guy that was taking us around, he said, you are taking more money out of the ATMs that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it trust me, right? It wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
Don't think we were taking millions of dollars. And no, it wasn't like that. It was just because the currency, like $1 equals whatever hundreds of their currency.
Yeah.
So you walking around with a stack of money like this, and it's only $200. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to them it was, they see you coming. How can we, they're trying to figure out how can we, get them to
Yeah.
invest in this or do this or that, and
Yeah.
so that was the Tanzania experience.
So
But then we went to UAE as well.
okay. Okay.
So that's another event.
So how long was
Yeah.
the UAE kind of trip?
The UAE, we went to the UAE to. Okay, let me tell you this. If you're going to visit, then none of what I'm saying matters, because when you go to visit, they give you a certain amount of time. You go, you look around, and you go home. But if you go in there to stay for a significant amount of time, things change. Now you have to figure out how can you get a visa or get a residency long enough for you to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for the UAE. To go to the UAE for anyone from UK or from the States is nothing. You go in there, they let you right in, and I think you get. Have you been?
No.
You been to UAE?
No.
Okay. I think you get 30 days, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. And
Yeah.
then that could be, you go to the border and come back and it's renewed. So
Yeah.
so it was nothing. So we went there, and then we just went around looking for opportunity and how to get some type of long-term stay.
Yeah.
So we did find some things out, like they have something called free zone, and then you just pay for an office space and pay for, the fees or whatever for the free zone, and then you can get a visa from that,
Okay.
doing that. So we were just going around looking at this, looking at houses, looking at the cost of living and everything, and exploring the country at the same time.
I'm guessing the cost of living is a lot higher than obviously the countries you've been previously.
Yeah, it is. But it's a difference too between Dubai and, let's say, Sharjah or
Yeah.
Ajman or these places. It's a difference,
Okay.
and you could find something that is that could work for you.
Okay.
But it is more expensive, definitely more expensive than Egypt and Zanzibar. But you'd be surprised, in Zanzibar, it's really expensive too.
Okay.
Because it's an island. You have people that invested in building homes and everything
Yeah.
near the water. So they'll charge you $1,500 for a house, which may not seem expensive, but it's expensive compared to paying $300.
Yeah. No. Of course it is. Of course.
So yeah, and then what you get for it, they didn't. We tried to talk to them, but they didn't really get it. I'm
Yeah.
like, you can't charge $1,500 and you don't have a supermarket.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have basic things that a Westerner would need and would expect when paying $1,500 a month. So how can you? And not unsurprisingly, the houses, a lot of them are empty. Nobody's there
Yeah.
because nobody's willing to pay.
No. Of course.
But they get the guys that come in and do the what do you call it? The what do you call it? Like the relief work and that type of stuff. The
aid work.
nonprofit organizations, those type of
Yeah.
the
The
people come
charity
in
work.
and they have they charity work and they have projects and stuff. So they come
Yeah.
and they stay in these places, and then they'll leave the place empty.
Yeah.
They'll leave the place empty for years until those guys come back.
That's crazy. That is
But-
crazy.
What they don't know is that you have people, a lot of people like myself, that will come and we can be a steady rent
Yeah.
for years.
And they'd make more money that way. Yeah.
They make more money that way. But no, they'll wait. They'll just sit on that place, and then in the whole time they're sitting on the place, remember, it's not being maintained,
Okay.
so it's falling apart.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of houses like that. It was just houses were falling apart because they couldn't maintain it.
Yeah.
Or one guy we went to had at least 6 or 7 properties that he owned.
Yeah.
So he was just taking us around to each property, and it's nobody's keeping up. The grass is high like this, and the wall is leaning or whatever because nobody's maintaining the properties.
Yeah.
He wants to rent it for $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Can I ask if you tried like the mainland of Tanzania, or was it just the islands that you just?
Well, honestly, we didn't try the mainland. Well, actually, the brother Hamza, which is my partner with the Make Hijrah project, he was in a place called Arusha,
Yeah.
which is, I think it's in the north of
Okay.
Tanzania. He stayed there for a while, and he said that it was it was okay. They had the shops and they had the good real estate and everything, and it's fairly cheap, But we wanted to go to Zanzibar because it's a Muslim island. Both of those, Zanzibar and Pemba, were Muslim islands,
And
so we wanted to go there.
So the main island's not like a majority Muslim, or?
I think they say it's 50-50.
Okay.
It's 50-50, but Zanzibar is like 99.99999%.
Okay.
The other, that little thing is like people who stayed on there, or people from the mainland that came and are there, But vast majority of the islands are Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so the trip to UAE, you couldn't really figure out some sort of compromise, and so you decided to visit another place. Is that right?
Well, I mean, with the UAE, the barrier to entry was just crazy. It was just, it's like, okay, how much money do you have to spend to, So what happened was, so we were going, at that point, we were just visiting these different places. And then, believe it or not, we went to Zanzibar and we said, okay, let's go to UAE.
Yeah.
We went to UAE. All right, we went back to Egypt. Okay, let's go back to Zanzibar. Okay, so it was kind of like a circle. And then finally we decided on Zanzibar. And then at that point, it was 3 families. So we all went there, and we all didn't go there. I went there by myself.
Okay. And
those 2 brothers brought their families. So I was just going back and forth. I can't remember why. Oh yeah, I had some issues. I had some paperwork issues that I had to straighten out and everything before I can go. So those things end up happening that I mentioned before. They stole the equipment and these different things, these different signs that we started to get that say no, it's not the place. So then a friend of mine said, he was going to visit Malaysia. Said, would you like to come with me? I'm going to Malaysia. I said, yeah, of course.
Was it one of these friends from your 2 partners, or a different friend?
This was an older friend. This is a friend from back in the States.
Okay.
So he said he's going to Malaysia, and I said, yeah, man. So we set it up, and we went to Malaysia. We went to a place called Penang.
Yeah.
And then from Penang, we went to Kuala Lumpur, and then we just started moving around.
Yeah.
So I love Malaysia. I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Because I like the green. I'm not a desert person too much.
Yeah.
I like the rain because it rains a lot. I mean, it's certain times of the year, but it also rained in Zanzibar. It rained a lot.
Yeah.
But the thing was that the thing I liked about UAE was the modernity of it. It was up to speed.
Yeah.
But it didn't have the green, nature aspect like Zanzibar did.
Yeah.
So when you come to Malaysia, you get both.
Yeah,
you get the mix of both.
Best of both worlds.
Have you been to Malaysia, by the way?
I haven't, but I'm hoping that you give me an invitation that someday I'll be able to visit you.
Man. Yeah, you have to come, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Malaysia is beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. I mean, I'm just talking about the natural beauty of the country,
Yeah.
and then when you couple that with modernity and cleanliness and people, the people are really amazing people, man. They're very
Yeah.
mild mannered. Like you'll barely hear someone argue or scream or anything.
Yeah.
And I can say that the whole time. Well, let me tell you this before. Let me tell you this before I go on. I came to Malaysia maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
So I went with my friend, and and he loved it too. We both loved it. We stayed, I think, maybe a week or 2 weeks. I can't remember.
Sorry, can I just ask you before we move on? Was his plan to immigrate there? Was that his plan? Is that the reason for his
He wanted
visit?
to scout it. Yeah, he
Okay.
wanted to scout it out to see if it was a possibility
Okay.
to move there. And I wasn't thinking about Malaysia at the time.
Yeah.
It was just I just wanted to go see it. I wanted
Yeah,
to check it out. So I checked it out, and I said I could, I was amazed, but no, I would think most people would be amazed, man. To be
Yeah.
honest, I'm thinking maybe because I was in Egypt for so long, maybe I'd be amazed at almost anything. But no, that wasn't the case. Malaysia is actually very beautiful. So I went there with him. I came back home and I said, you know what? I want to move to Malaysia. I told my family that. So I took my son.
Yeah.
We went again. I'm trying to figure out if I went before that again too. Can't remember. But anyway, one of these times that I went, I took my son and I did all the tourist stuff, the touristic stuff.
Yeah. How's your son at this time?
My son was, how was he? Maybe 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I took him and we did all the tourist stuff because I didn't see that part of Malaysia the first time. The first time it was the brother I came with. He set up like real estate stuff. So we went to see different homes and different stuff.
Yeah, different meetings and
yeah, that kind of stuff. Like he was doing it that way. And then, but this time I came to see the zoo and the bird parks and the blah blah blah, all that stuff. So, and it just made it even.
You fell in love.
I fell in love more, bro. And then they left. He left, and then the brother Hamza, he came.
Yeah.
And another friend of mine came to Malaysia. So at that point, we got a car and we just did road trips all up, everywhere, and took Airbnbs and just, stayed everywhere. And it was very consistent, man. That's another thing.
Throughout the country.
Is very consistent. It's not like you have this built up part that's modern and everything, and then you go to another part and it's like old and torn down. It's like everything is kind of consistent. I'm sure they have slums and things like that. I'm sure they have that, but I didn't see it. Didn't see it. But in Egypt you can easily move from a beautiful area to the slums, like just
you only have to drive
door.
10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes and you hit the slums. You know what I mean? So it's not like that. It's definitely not like that. So
yeah. So you eventually made the jump.
Yeah. After how did that work? Did I come back? No, I came back again.
Yeah.
So after that time, after that time we came again. Hamza and I came.
Yeah.
And
just for the viewers, Hamza is obviously your partner. I'm hoping to have him on the show like in the future as well. So just to have his perspective, his side of events.
Yeah. But he has other places he's been as well. So he'll be another interesting guest.
Yeah.
But so we went again. And again, same thing, Airbnbs, different places. And but at this point, we're looking at how to stay, what was available, what opportunities were available. So we met with different people. We talked to a lot of different people to see, what our options were. So that was that third trip. So after that trip, he went ahead and started the process to come.
Okay.
And then I went back And like I said, I had some paperwork and things with my children and stuff like that that I had to take care of. And then after that, after everything was okay, I made the jump.
Yeah.
So right now, that leads us to now where I've been in Malaysia for on and off about 3 years, because I don't stay in a place. I
Yeah.
have to go back to here and there, you know. But yeah. So
So
that's where I am right now in Malaysia.
so you're in Malaysia right now, and
Yeah.
any culture shocks from Malaysia to, obviously you've been to a different part of the world now. You're
Actually, I can say the only culture shock is that in the States um, you have different religions, different ideologies, and what have you. But mainly, where I'm from, mainly you deal with Christians.
yeah.
Okay, so I grew up dealing with Christians, and I would say I was a Christian myself at one
Yeah.
point, right? So, but throughout the States you have everything, but Christianity is like prominent, right? So in Egypt, Islam is prominent,
Yeah.
like, but you have Christians,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Islam is a dominant force there. So when you come to Malaysia, now you're dealing with the Asian religions.
Yeah.
So that was the culture shock. Like I never dealt with Buddhist or Hindu or I've never dealt with that, and I'm not familiar with
Customs and
their customs and the different things
their
that's there.
practices.
So that was a shock.
Mm.
That was a shock. You know, so the Muslims live alongside the other Asian religions.
Yeah.
You know, so which is different than Muslims living alongside Christians or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a shock. And I have to mention that I went to Thailand as well.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that.
Was that just a trip, or was that a similar kind of scouting mission?
Well, that was the Thailand thing was to get the visa to stay in Malaysia.
Okay.
I had to go out the country to get to receive the visa and then come back into the country. And at the time, I thought that would be an interesting experience. You know, I thought maybe I would like it, but I really can't say that. Because those culture shock things are just magnified, man.
Yeah.
You know, in Thailand. I'm not saying, how can I say it? The country itself is clean, it's green, because you know, if you go, is it north? I'm not sure the direction, but it borders Malaysia.
Yeah, it does.
So you go up, you leave Malaysia, and you go into Thailand, and even though it's on the same landmass, it seems like you're entering a different world.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain. Like you could tell that you left Malaysia and went somewhere else.
Okay.
You know, it's that obvious. But it's still green. It's still, you know, nature, beautiful nature. But it's something about it.
It was different.
I can't explain.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. You know. So yeah. So Thailand was an interesting experience. And
Yeah.
nah.
So what about the food there and stuff like that in Malaysia? Because
Oh, that's something different, bro.
yeah.
But I think, I mean, since you come from Pakistani background, like you already know that I would say that you all have the best food, man.
Yeah.
I'm talking about flavors.
Yeah.
And
So
it's not dull, and it's just salt or pepper or something. It's like just bursting with flavor, and that's Malaysia. You have the Indian food, you have Pakistani food, you have Malaysian food, you have all this mix, and everything is competing with each other.
Okay,
like
so
you can't bring dull food here. You can't.
Yeah.
People will be angry.
So you've got people from different countries who have set up these kind of restaurants from their own cultures and countries.
Yeah, well, you have to look at it like there's an Indian. I don't know. Indians make up a portion of the population here. I forgot what portion that is, but they make up a big portion of the population.
Okay.
Then the Chinese, and then of course you have the Malays.
Yeah.
So you have a mix of all of that, like, and I mean the Muslim Indians as well.
Yeah.
Because you have the halal, you have to kind of be really cautious about that.
Yeah.
But but everything, the thing is, they're very organized. So everything's marked. If it's halal or whatever, it's
Yeah.
marked on the thing. So what you're eating. But the food here has been, I would say, it's been the best food that I've had. Aside from, I'm not talking about my food from my country. I'm
Yeah.
speaking about outside.
Yeah.
The food outside is some of the best food I've ever had. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
in regards to what you just mentioned about checking, obviously, if your food's halal or not, um, you've not had that problem for many years, I suppose, because you've visited a majority Muslim countries.
Right. Yeah. That's not an issue. Think about it, because by default is it's halal. The people, even in Egypt, you have like if you want to buy chicken,
Yeah.
you can go to a supermarket and buy chicken that's already cut and ready.
Yeah.
In the neighborhoods, if you go to the neighborhood guy, he has live chickens.
And you just pick your chicken and it does it there and then. Yeah.
He does it, and
Yeah.
right away. He defeathers it, everything, and there you have it. There you have your chicken breasts or whatever.
Yeah. So
So
so is it
different, totally.
is it a bit of a is that a bit of a hindrance then in Malaysia, or was it insignificant?
I mean, the thing about Malaysia. See, here's the thing. That's why I mentioned Thailand, because um, Thailand, you might walk down the street and find a guy with, how they flatten the chickens. They put the. I think you saw that maybe in Egypt. It's a flat chicken.
Yeah.
They put it in a thing and they flatten it.
Yeah, like to barbecue, like it's like
Yeah,
a
they put
cage.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they put it and they serve it to you and it's like flattened.
Yeah.
I saw there a whole pig flattened,
Oh
like
my God. Yeah.
on the street, just like he's
Yeah.
selling it, just like that, with sesame seeds on it or something.
Okay.
So I mentioned that to say, like, you have to be very, very careful
Yeah.
what you're eating there. You don't know what it is. In Malaysia, if it's not halal, it says not halal. They'll tell you
Okay. It's
this is
clearly
not halal.
marked. Yeah.
Yes, it's clear. Like they'll tell you, and they're serious about that. So by default, you can say like the street vendors, and I guess I haven't been in every area, so I just want to make that clear. So
Yeah.
when you have, let's say the Muslim street vendors, they'll be insulted if you ask them that, if it's halal or not,
Yeah.
because of course it is. There's, like,
Yeah.
what you think we're doing here. So, but in Thailand, it's different, because you'll go to, I'm talking about Muslims now. You'll go to a Muslim, or I want to say a Muslim place, but let's just say a mall.
Yeah.
And in this mall, you have a supermarket, and you have Muslims working there. And we went to buy like some hot dogs or something. They have like pastries and has
Yeah.
hot dogs and everything. So the Muslim guy was like, "No, don't eat that. Don't take that." And that was Thailand. Because
Yeah.
he knew, he saw we were Muslim, and he said, "No, you can't eat that." But he was forced under their situation there. Unfortunately, like they're forced to do whatever they have to do. They have to work in the supermarkets or work here or there, but they're obviously under
Certain contracts
you
and
know
conditions. Yeah.
they're under certain situations where they don't control what goes on.
Yeah.
And then Malaysia's the opposite. Malaysia's the total opposite.
Yeah. And the Malaysian, obviously the alphanumerical, like the dialect and stuff like that. Do you struggle with like signs and stuff, or do you find a lot in English?
What do they call it? Bahasa. The Malaysian language is written in English
Okay.
or in Latin script, right? But the original is in Arabic script.
Oh wow, I didn't
And
know that.
Yeah, and some people still learn it that way.
Yeah.
But so it's English. Like there's no problem with English here. Like you
Okay.
can go and deal in English totally. Like you don't have to learn anything else, and you'll be surprised at the level of English that people have. Is you can be very comfortable, but that's in the main cities. If you go out into the countryside, you might have it might not be as easy. But
Yeah.
in the main cities, you could just go around in English. That's it. I mean, sometimes you have to dumb it down a little bit if you
Yeah.
speak, but if you speak straight in simple language, no problem.
Mm. And
Yeah.
the cost of getting around and stuff like that, how does it compare to, like, for example, other places you've been and from the US?
Uh, I would say that it depends now. If you're coming as a tourist,
Mm.
you could get around well in the Ubers, which it's a different company called Grab.
Yeah.
It's not Uber, but it's works similar. And then with Grab, you have taxis and different type of stuff that work on that system. So it's really easy to get from here and there if you know where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then one thing I found too, I'm talking about from a touristy perspective, right? Airbnb is like they mastered that.
Yeah.
Like they took that and they took it to another level, because you can hop from Airbnb to Airbnb and you never have to deal with any owners or anything.
Yeah. Just a question about that then, about the
Yeah.
Airbnb. Obviously, the Airbnb platform, they take percentages and stuff like that. And I guess a lot of apartment house owners, they'll know that, a lot of their customers may come from the Western world and the prices that they're used to paying. So would the prices on Airbnb be highly inflated as opposed to trying to find somewhere local yourself?
Nah, no. If you talk about Malaysia, like you do better with Airbnb than hotels.
Okay.
You do better with Airbnb.
Can you give us an
And
example of what a single night would cost in an Airbnb in Malaysia?
you can, or you can find something from like $15,
Okay.
$15 up. It just all depends what you're looking for, but and most of them are really nice. Like
Yeah.
they're very clean, very modern. Especially if you get Airbnbs in Kuala Lumpur, and that's probably where most people will go. But you find them everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, if you go to Kuala Lumpur, you can find something really nice, man, for $16, $15
That's amazing.
a night. Yeah,
That's
that's why
amazing.
I say it's better. It'll be a small apartment, which is different than a hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
So you have your fridge, your cooker, your washing machine, and these different things. It's like
Yeah.
an apartment. Your sofa, your all that stuff, and then you have the bedrooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was very pleased. I only had one bad experience with
Okay.
Airbnb, and that's one bad experience out of, I don't know, maybe 20 experiences. So
Yeah. So coming up towards the end of the show, what's
mm.
next for you then? What's next? Are you there long term? Do you plan to visit any other places?
Well, I mean, now, um,
I know we have the
I,
coronavirus on at the moment, but
yeah,
post corona,
post Corona, I would like to go and visit some places and do some in-depth studies into the possibilities in these different places
okay.
and document it video by uh, making some writing and stuff on it.
Would that be
Because
for
I,
would that be
hmm?
for your own benefit or for the benefit of others?
No, that's for the benefit of others. It's for
Okay.
the benefit of others because uh, I've I, I've benefited greatly. I've benefited greatly from living outside of the U.S. and and you could take the benefits from those places that you travel. Um, and I would say I would look at it in my children, um, but some of them have spent their entire lives, you know, with a different perspective than
Yeah.
living inside the U.S. So bearing in mind, I have like my oldest son is at this time he's 22 years old. So um, yeah, so I want other people to experience or at least be aware of the possibilities.
Yeah.
And because I mean I know this this show is directed towards all people, right? Which
Yeah.
but anyone who has a problem with some aspects of Western culture, or if you're a bit conservative, because I'm a bit conservative. Like I, I want my to get married. I want to have family. Family's important. I don't want to ruin that by them just going to the clubs and getting high and doing
Yeah.
all this stuff. So I'm not interested in that type of lifestyle. And if anybody listening feels the same way, you'll find that a lot of the countries outside of the Western world are still very conservative, and they still hold high certain values that
Yeah.
people in the U.S. held in the 60s and the 50s and the early, So, so if you're on a path to say, okay, look, you're going to get my children. I want them to get a good education. I want them to get what I mean by good education is not necessarily. I'm not saying that the schools are the best on
Yeah.
the side of the world, but you can focus a lot more. You can actually be in your child's life more.
Yeah.
So you can get the tutors and because life is fairly inexpensive in these
Yeah.
places. So you get the environment, which is pretty much a conservative environment, family-oriented environment. Plus you can kind of, have a greater influence on your family,
Yeah.
by that you can expose them to a different culture and different peoples to widen their scope. Because some people's scope is just in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
just in the surrounding areas. So if you can bridge that out and show different type of people, different cultures, then they'll respect humanity more.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I would like to go to different places and give the detailed information on what life is like in these areas.
Yeah.
And then also give them a roadmap on how to establish themselves in these different areas.
Yeah. And what are some of the countries that top the list for you?
I would like to, excuse me, I would like to go to Morocco.
Okay.
I would like to go to Gambia.
Yeah.
Let's just say West Africa. I would like to explore West Africa a bit.
Yeah.
I would like to check out more of the Middle East, like Bahrain or these places, Oman and
Some of the Arab states.
yeah, some of the Arab countries. Turkey is on the list.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying to check out some of the European countries like Bosnia and Albania and these places like that. I wouldn't mind, but the first on the list would probably be West African countries.
Yeah.
Some more East African countries like Somaliland, Djibouti.
Yeah.
Some places there. Sudan, I wouldn't mind.
So you've got a lot of countries on the list.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot. You've still
I would
got.
like to make it an ongoing effort and document it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then also help people along the way if I can, like meet people in these different places and then connect those people with, make connections so people can, so that they can travel. Also, one other point I'd like to mention before we close out, and that is a different type of tourism, which is like an Islamic tourism.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like when you go to Egypt, for example, the first thing people think of are pyramids.
Yeah.
Or the Sphinx or this type of stuff. And while that's definitely part of the history, also to connect that history with the great Islamic history of the country.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's one of the real sad things that I experienced when I had my trip there, because we was part of a tour and literally nothing was spoken about any Islamic history. And the tour group that we was part of a group, I think there was 13 or 15 people, and half of the group was from America. One of the American ladies, she actually wanted to visit a mosque, and she was disappointed that the tour group didn't even offer her a chance to go into a mosque, into a masjid, and she openly told me that.
Yeah.
So
that's sad, man.
Yeah.
Because you have over 1,000-year history of Islam there. I mean, till now,
Yeah.
You have places that old mosques, 1,000 years old. There.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon.
And it's not like there's a shortage of mosques. They could have taken the visitors to any masjid there.
Yeah. Even the fortress of Salahuddin. is there. Like there's a rich history there,
Yeah.
even of other prophets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can. The thing about it is, I would like to explore that idea, and it wouldn't be, of course, it wouldn't be me. Like I can't think that
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything, but there are people that are open to those type of ideas that already were
Absolutely.
in the tourist industry.
Absolutely.
So it's just a matter to appeal to people who want to travel to
Yeah.
come to any country and then check out not only the ancient history, but check out the Islamic history along the way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just coming up to closing the show, a lot of these trips that you talk about, they kind of tie into what you're doing at the moment, the project that you're working on.
Mhm.
So do you want to tell us about this project?
Sure. We have a channel, a YouTube channel, and a website called Make Hijrah, and basically, it's it's giving people a insight into the possibilities of leaving their home countries and traveling to specifically the Muslim world
Yeah.
and living there and actually staying there. So it's not necessarily a tourist or a travel
It's about,
website,
it's about
but it
immigration,
could
right?
be. Yes, about immigration. Because when you talk about immigration, a lot of people, if I said, okay, I'm leaving Pakistan, for example, when I'm going to the UK. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem with that. But if I said I'm leaving UK and going to Pakistan, there's a problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We need to
why would
change.
you do that?
Yeah. So you're trying to change the narrative and show that there are luxuries on the other side of the pond.
Sometimes life is much sweeter. You'd be
Absolutely.
surprised, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the hustle and bustle of some places is like it's non-existent in some of these places. Like it's just uh, if you, I would encourage the travel part of it
Absolutely.
because to open your eyes. So you travel and go places and explore.
Yeah.
And then when you says, you know what, I want to leave the rat race and I want to come and just raise my family and relax over in another part.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised, man. Like expense wise, let's say New York City, a studio apartment in New York City might cost you $2,000 or
It's
$3,000 a month.
crazy. Like London, central London.
How much is it in central London
It's gonna be
for
about the same
a studio?
price. £2,000,
Okay,
£3,000.
okay. With that same £3,000, you could stay 6 months in some places.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
some places you can stay a year. And I don't mean living in like a hut or something. I mean living in a modern apartment with
Yeah. Yeah.
modern amenities.
Yeah,
So,
I
you know,
highly encourage people to check out your YouTube channel because you show price comparisons and you've interviewed like many people and they give you price comparisons on places that
right,
they stay and
right.
you know people rent nice apartments for $200-300 or pounds
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a month and these
right.
$200-300 a month you're getting nice apartments and
Yeah,
furnished in a lot of occasions a lot
yeah,
of time as well.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, it's there, and that's just our contribution to trying to help anyone who wants to um, who wants to make the jump like that.
Yeah.
But again, I would recommend watching channels like yours as well, even though they're already watching. What I'm
Yeah.
saying, because you need to see what's out there,
Yeah.
and then that can spark the interest to just go yourself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then once you go yourself, it's channels like ours that say you can actually stay here if you want. You
Absolutely.
can live here if you want to, because there are people living here, and
Yeah.
there are communities here of people living there. So
So
yeah,
so
that's that.
you've lived in different places and so you've found communities of expats in those countries?
Yeah, they exist. The problem is that Americans have this unique problem of not being able to coordinate. And I'm not trying to say anything bad.
Yeah.
It's just the reality that someone can come and offer their organizational skills or their
Yeah.
something that they can offer to help us along the way. But other people are established. Other communities are
Yeah.
established. There's you have French, you have Indonesian, Malaysian. I'm talking about in Egypt, for example.
Yeah.
Communities of all kind that are very well organized.
Yeah.
So, so the expat, it all depends. Like even I remember a guy from Denmark a black guy from Denmark, and he was saying how organized their group was, you
Okay.
know, compared to other groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, depending on where you come from, you can hop right into a lot of these places and find the expat community. But I would also say it is important to mingle with the local people as well.
Yeah.
It's very important to mingle with them, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind you like being a part of them or becoming one of them. But my recommendation is be who you are, be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I know who I am, and that gives you respect. Like they respect people who are confident in who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and that helps you navigate better than to try to just be, you know, turn into one of them, and then they start treating you like one of them, depending on, you know, what status they find you.
Yeah.
They start slapping you on the neck and stuff like that. So you don't want that.
Yeah.
You want, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so talking about organization of expat groups and stuff like that, I know your website's under construction. Is that something that maybe you can do in the future? Maybe set up some groups where expats from different countries can maybe meet each other or socialize?
That's the concept. It's actually set up as like a Hijrah social media website.
Yeah.
It's there, but the thing about it, the challenge is putting content and kind of controlling the narrative to keep people on track. It doesn't mean that you can't say what you want to say.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't want it to go from a Hijrah thing to something, you know.
Yeah, to
something
preaching
totally
or, you know.
Yeah, it turns into something else if you can't control.
Yeah.
Not necessarily control what people say, but you just control the direction that the site is going in.
You want it to be on topic, I suppose.
Yeah, stay on topic. That's the thing. And in order to do that, you got to kind of control the flow of information there, and then allow people to be creative based on that.
Yeah.
On that topic, you know, here's the topic. Okay, let's discuss this topic.
Yeah.
So I would say pretty soon, inshallah, the website will be up and running, and people can register, and then they can just go in and learn about other countries. Another thing too is we're trying to make it like a research tool as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to know about Morocco, and you want to, we aggregate information regarding Morocco, even from different sources.
Yeah.
Different channels, different articles, different podcasts, all kind of different media related to Morocco. And then also you can search in there specific questions and get all the information related to that topic that you're searching for. And then also you can have people who are from Morocco that are leading conversations, so you can make connections within the site. You can say, okay, this guy seems like he knows about Tangier, for example, Morocco. So I'm gonna become a connection with this person and follow what he's talking about. So that's pretty much the features in a nutshell of what you'll be able to do in the website.
And one of the features you're gonna be, I don't know if it's in the near future or the distant future, you're gonna be offering trips you're gonna be offering trips where people can go to some of these places and kind of have a guided kind of experience. Is that correct?
Yeah, we would like to. See, the thing about it is, what I've learned over the years is that you have to cooperate. You have to collaborate, because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. Like, you have to be open for people to help and give them an opportunity to help. And then when it comes a chance where you can offer even compensation to compensate people and give them opportunity.
Yeah.
For example, I'll make this example, try to make it short. A lot of people were hit hard with the COVID thing, and some people ran tourist companies and things like this, and that just went totally to zero.
Mm.
So now is an opportunity to go to these people and present the idea of looking at it from a different perspective. I know it's lucrative to bring these tourists in and they want to see, for example, the pyramids and this, that. Okay, why don't you cater that to a different audience?
That's right,
Why don't you open that up? Or if you want to keep that side of the business, that's great. But why don't you open up a different side of the business for these people with these different interests? And then that way you can just collaborate with those people.
Yeah.
And then even if you want to try to earn a commission from it, like, for example, we can use the website as the interface between you and those people. which means we can take a commission for setting up the transaction.
Yeah.
So all of us can benefit.
Yeah.
So if you build the community big enough, then you can bring in these people. Like it's no longer this visionary idea. You can say, no, I have 200,000 people right here that are all looking for different travel opportunities. So, you know what I mean? Now I can propose something that actually has a dollar sign connected to it. That might be more motivation for some people.
Yeah.
But it all starts with building the community. Once you start to build the community, then the
possibilities are endless. Yeah. So if anyone is interested in such things, they can go on the website now. I'll leave the link in the description below, and they can just pre-register an interest, right? And they'll get a notification when the website launches. Is that how it works? Yeah.
Yeah. For now, yeah. And they can also check us on the YouTube channel. There's new videos being uploaded daily. Yeah. So they're welcome to visit us at the YouTube channel.
Okay.
As well.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Omar, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I hope to have you on the show in the future, and maybe Brother Hamza as well, who's also from your YouTube channel.
Yes. Inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Hopefully speak to you soon.
Okay then. All right, bro. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.